All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, Steve Cohen is still in the infant stage of his time as a team owner of the New York Mets, but it's been an interesting 9 months for him. We've seen Cohen bring back Sandy Alderson to run the Mets front office. We saw Cohen in the offseason make the big trade to acquire infielder Francisco Lindor from the Cleveland Indians. And then, of course, giving Lindor the big contract. Things were looking pretty good for the Mets in spite of like the injuries that they had to deal with this year, as they held down first place in the National League East for the majority of the season until their anemic offense which was already bad, got the best of them. Here in August, the Mets are only 8-18, and they've gone from having a comfortable lead in the division to being in third place currently and 7.5 games out of first place behind the Atlanta Braves entering play today. Now, the most recent controversy or the most recent problem with this club is now the thumbs down controversy, which is highlighted from Javier Baez, Francisco Lindor, and Kevin Pillar, most notably Javi Baez and Frankie Lindor. But, you look at it and, for Baez, he's really not endearing himself to this club or the city of New York in general. I mean, he just got here a couple of weeks ago, fresh off of the trade from the Chicago Cubs, and it comes down to, him not appreciating being booed by the fans. And I know other players probably feel like that as well. But the bottom line is, if you don't want to get booed, you play better. And the thing is this, in New York City, when you win, they will love you. Just speaking of this Mets team, you look at two of their play-by-play guys or color guys rather in the booth, Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling. They're loved by Mets fans. Why? Because they were a part of a championship team. When you win a championship, especially when you win that championship in New York City, it brings something else out of people, and people are really endeared to you. That's why Derek Jeter is Derek Jeter. That's why Eli Manning is Eli Manning. You look at, a guy like Lawrence Taylor, the Giants fan base always loves him. Okay. Joe Namath led the Jets to a Super Bowl championship more than 50 years ago, but he is still loved. So when you win that championship, nobody can ever take it away from you, and you're always endeared to the fans. For Baez, of course, he knows what it takes to win a championship in a big city. He did it with the Cubs in 2016, and he also played in a big market. So when you're in a big market and you don't produce, the fans are going to let you know about it. The bottom line. And the thing is like you want everybody to tell you how good you are, but it doesn't work like that. You have to earn that. And, you look at it and Baez is upset, but guess what? His former Cub teammate, Anthony Rizzo, he's tearing it up right now for the New York Yankees. And the Yankees are one of the hottest teams in baseball. And the fans in the Bronx are showing Anthony Rizzo the love that Anthony Baez wants. But guess what? Rizzo's getting that love because he's producing with his bat, and also he has helped the Yankees become one of the better teams in the American League, and they are the top wildcard team in the American League currently. That's how you get fans to cheer for you. That's how you get respect. And for a guy like Baez, who's expecting to go out there and get a big contract from somebody this offseason, he is now watching his value diminish because honestly, I don't see any scenario now where the Mets bring him back. Definitely the same thing probably with Pilar. They're stuck with Francisco Lindor, and that contract is looking worse and worse as the days go by. And, I said this before and I'll say it again. The Mets, as usual, got the wrong guy in this trade. I was hoping that the Mets made a trade for maybe Chris Bryant to play third base, and they got Javi Baez. And I really thought Chris Bryant would have been a better fit for this club. And Chris Bryant is tearing it up for the San Francisco Giants. But nonetheless, Javi Baez is not the guy. He was brought in. He's a buddy of Francisco Lindor, and this buddy ball ain't working. You paid Francisco Lindor a ton of money. He's underperforming immensely. And then on top of that, when you give a guy a contract like that, you expect him to be a leader. Francisco Lindor is not a leader, and obviously neither is Javi Baez. You look at it right now, if you're Baez and you're Lindor, you're not going to win the battle with the media and the fans, especially in New York City. And I'll tell you like this, the Mets were off tonight, but unless Javi Baez and Frankie Lindor go out there and go 4 for 4 apiece in their next home game at Citi Field and lead the Mets to a 14-4 blowout, they're going to hear the boo birds regardless out there. So you better put up or shut up, plain and simple. And unless the Mets have a miracle turnaround and somehow find a way to win this division, I expect Cohen to have a serious house cleaning in the offseason because, he took over this team during the offseason. He tried to piece it together, and I give him credit for going out there and making some moves. But the bottom line is you have to fix this offense. But more importantly, this club needs leaders, and this organization needs a culture change. That's what it comes down to. I know that he has vowed to bring a championship to New York, to the Mets. It's easier said than done, and it's a process. And I hope everybody understands that. But with that said, it's a culture change. One of the reasons, and you look at what the Yankees were able to do, just bringing them up as an example, for what they did in the late '90s and early 2000s. You had guys in that clubhouse that hated to lose more than they enjoy winning. You look at the teams that are consistently good right now in Major League Baseball, like the Dodgers and the Rays. It's all about their systems. The Mets don't have a system. Their system right now is futility. Their system is finding ways to inexplicably get on the back pages of the New York tabloid papers. And that's exactly what they've done once again with this. A huge distraction when this team doesn't need it. And if you're Javier Baez and Frankie Lindor, you haven't produced. Your team is one of the worst offensive teams in baseball. If you don't believe me, look it up. Their stats are near the bottom just about of every major category in the National League that there is as far as hitting goes. So the bottom line is there has to be a serious house cleaning this offseason, and they need a culture change. And the bottom line is, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you're Steve Cohen, you go out there and you give a blank check to Theo Epstein, and it's telling him to fill it in and let him run your front office going forward. You need a bona fide manager. Luis Rojas is not it. He's a stopgap guy after, the Carlos Beltran fiasco. And Carlos Beltran shouldn't have been the manager of the Mets in the first place. But you need a manager. You need a field general out there running things, and not a guy who's just going to be, there to take orders from the general manager. So the Mets need leaders. Pete Alonso's trying, but they need more guys in that clubhouse that are spitting mad with stuff like that. And honestly, from the first time it happened, you needed a guy in that clubhouse to go out there and say, hey, you know what? Not on our watch. And, for veterans like Kevin Pillar to be a part of it. And, again, Javier Baez has been around the block in Major League Baseball, as has Francisco Lindor. So, you know what? They know better. That's not how you endear yourself to your team. You have to go out there and be a professional, win or lose. Fans are going to say what fans are going to want to say, period. So, and that, especially that's the way it is in New York. I mean, I think back to when the Yankees won 3 championships and consecutively from 98, 99, and 2000. And then in 2001, they got to game 7 of the World Series and lost. And it was a totally different feel from the media and some fans towards that team. That's what you expect, or that is what is expected from a lot of fans in New York City. So you have to be very thick-skinned in order to deal with that. And obviously, Javi Baez is showing that he is not that guy. So it's going to be interesting to see what Cohen does. Obviously, he's saying all of the stuff publicly to, distance himself from this scenario and this saga right now. But, again, it's all about a culture change in Flushing with this franchise. Javi Baez, in my opinion, just played himself out of a contract with the Mets. Again, they're stuck with Lindor. But the bottom line is winning teams don't come apart like this at such a critical time. They find a way to come together. And the Mets simply are coming apart at the seams. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.